Welcome to Talk with Healthcare Heroes, episode 5. Today, our topic of talk is empowering of nurses for research. This is one of the major challenges that nurses face, even if they have clinical knowledge, even if they are expert in the field they are working or expert in the department they are working, but they find it difficult to do a research. So we thought of inviting one of the expertise in this, Professor Urmila Bharadwaj. She has an immense experience, clinical as well as teaching, and she is a former principal in one of the esteemed college, Jamia Hamdard. So Professor Urmila Bharadwaj will be talking about research, how to do a research, how to publish a research. Even if you have clinical knowledge, even if you are an expertise, you struggle. But here we talk about research today. So let's tune in. Welcome to Talk with Healthcare Heroes. Today I have with me a very special guest, very special to me, somebody who has taught me, and I'm very honored to call her as my guest. And she is Miss Urmila Bharadwaj, and she has done her bachelor's from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and she has done her master's from PGI Chandigarh, a very prestigious college. From there, you understand that how brilliant she is, and she has done so many certification courses, and she has immense experience in the clinical field and also in the teaching field, where she has raised a generation of nurses. Don't know how many. So glad that you are here, ma'am. I'm so glad that you're here. So welcome to Talk with Healthcare Heroes.
Thank you, Nancy, very much. At the outset, I would like to thank you. And I'm really, overwhelmed to see my students coming up like this. Keep it up, dear.
So let's talk about you. So the viewers would love to know, if you are watching us online, please do comment in so that we know that you're watching us. So ma'am, tell us about yourself. Like why did you choose to teach?
See, let me tell you, initially I was in a hospital. I have a decade of working in a hospital, that too in a private mission hospital. And there I realized that only working in a hospital, although the teaching and nursing goes hand in hand, but the role was very, very limited. And I also found that nursing prepared candidates who were inducted into the service were having some lacuna, some problems with the curriculum. This was not taught, that was not taught. So then I thought one day, no, this is not for me. I must go in teaching as well, where I must be able to raise the students and make some changes in the curriculum wherever it requires. And we have gamut of courses, gamut of syllabus, and the things are so wide. So how to really, make it to a program which is 3.5. It was 3.5 that time. Now it was 3. Then again it is 3.5. The diploma program and the degree, 4 years degree program. So how to inculcate everything in that? That is what I wanted to do. So I wanted to make some changes, and teaching was actually my passion. Even at the bedside, you will have your patients, you will have their relatives, you will have other healthcare team like, uh, you know, uh, class 4 employees or other helping ancillary staff. And, those people also has to be taught. So your role is actually teaching. So I said, why not I go in teaching? I do have the hospital where I can teach them directly as well as in the class. So that is why it was a passion. I really wanted to be. And you will be really happy to know that many of my students, you also must have given me my feedback. They had given a very good feedback. That is an asset for me. So I enjoyed teaching. It is a passion. It was really job satisfying. So that is why I thought I'll be in teaching. Otherwise, you can't separate nursing and teaching. It is always there.
Yes, yes. Ma'am, I remember when we were in college and when we saw you, you were so humble. Actually, when we were in masters, so we were like, थोड़ा सा तो बड़े हो गए हैं अब ज़्यादा teacher, you know, we don't want people to scold us and all this stuff. So I remember you being so humble, so sweet. So you were very approachable to us, as in if we had any doubt, we knew that we could run to you, and you were there to clear. Even if you were more into community, even then we thought like Urmila ma'am is the right person to go in. So glad you had that humbleness in you, so that students can come and approach you. And ma'am, we have seen you that have been the principal of one of the esteemed college, Jamia Hamdard. So honored to see you there, and now retired as a principal from that college. So, ma'am, what do you think that could bring a boom into nursing? We find that maybe we don't find nursing in that kind of category. But what do you think, ma'am, could bring a boom?
Well, I tell you, when I talk about statistics, as per WHO norms, there is a requirement of 3 nurses per 1,000 population. And you know, in India, we have 1.3 nurses per 1,000 population. So you can imagine the shortage of nurses. We are less than 43% as per the norms given by WHO. So only this is, I'm talking about India. And in India, there is an acute shortage of nurses. About 10 million nurses are in shortage, and coming years, the population is going to grow. Our population pyramid is bulging at the top. That means our elderly population is becoming much more. So the role of nurses will expand in future much more. It is not only care during their sickness, it is preventive, promotive, curative, rehabilitative, and throughout their lifespan of human life. So their role is going to boom, and even WHO has recognized this, and they had earmarked 2020 as a year for nurse and midwives. So that means we have a big boom. I would like to add into this. I talked about quantity of nurses in India, but one more thing is that the quality also is required. I know there are nurses who are doing excellent job in their fields, and they are very expert. We need that quality of nurses to look after the patients, look after in the community, rehabilitation, school, at whichever area they go, they need to have a quality. So it's not only the quantity, the quality. And I'm sure the future is going to come when Independent Nurse Practitioner Act has come, so many things has come up. It is going to be expand much more in future. So it is going to be boom. It is an era for us. We have to take the challenge, and every side we have to really work hard to see that we are able to, keep up to the standards.
We consider it very proud moment when WHO had declared to 2020 as the year of midwives. So I think that itself starts a change in the era. So ma'am, because the topic for today is empowering nurses for research. So we'll be talking about research. So we find that research in the Indian scenario among the nurses in the clinical especially is very less. Like if you're in a college, we are more into research. We teach students, and that's one of that's like an achievement. Like we do so many researches when we are in college. But I see, ma'am, you have also seen that when we are in clinicals, when we are working as a staff nurse, even though they know more, They may be knowing that this is one of the evidence based practices, but why is it that there is still less researches in India by the nurses?
You have very rightly said, NC, because in the college, or if you are wanting to get a degree, it is mandatory for you to do the research. Whether, and in nursing, you will find out, even at UG level, even at diploma level, we had research as one of the subject in the curriculum. So whatever research is being done in nursing education, I'm sorry to say that maybe because of less sample size or constraint in time, most of these researches are becoming an ornament in the libraries. They are not being practiced due to lack of sample size, due to lack of other things. It is not being practiced. So there is a big gap between the research which is done and the practice. I would say that there are so many constraints in Indian scenario which makes nurses not to do research, not able to do actually. Firstly, it needs a special preparation. So if they are postgraduate, even under graduates, they are not open to the situation. They are only done during their academic time, and after that, they are not given an opportunity. Firstly, they have to be mentored to carry on throughout life. But the environment has to be conducive. If you see a nursing officer working in a hospital, she works 8 hours and she hardly has any time. As I already told you that there is an acute shortage of nurses. So they are overworked. They do not have this activity, time for this activity. That is their problem, firstly. Secondly, in a clinical setting, there is shortage of mentors. Maybe in metropolitan cities, big private hospitals, there are mentors who can tell them how to do research. But in other areas, you will not find them people mentoring how to do it, how to go about it, and how to publish it. So there has to be a mentor. There is a scarcity of mentors because mentors, even if they know, they are well versed, they're also busy with day-to-day activity of the hospital. They have a huge responsibility of client care, administration, and so many other things. So they hardly, and this is kept as a last priority. I wish if any of the hospital administrators are listening to me, they should have a separate post of nurse researcher. It is not separately said like that. So if they have a separate post for nurse researcher, she will mentor the budding nurses. That is another reason. And the funding is not available. You cannot do research without money. So the administrator has to allocate some money for that, or the mentors has to tell how to get the funding. Because without money, you cannot do anything. So that is a real constraint. The resources are not available, funding is not available, mentoring is not being done, time is not available. All those things has to be done. And even if they are in other fields, like say community health, psychiatry, other fields where they have time, there is no environment. The administration doesn't, recognize these nurses who have this talent, and they do not, tell them to go ahead. That is why we have scarcity of research scenario. Whatever most of the researches which are done, they are done for getting a degree or getting some funding and things like that. So the idea need to be changed. People have to think that research is every day's activity. People talk evidence.
Right.
You have to show your things with statistics. It will speak, and that too, it has to be scientific. You cannot just go like that. Then only people will recognize, because this time is, everybody wants evidence, everybody wants statistics. So one really, really have a mentors and go very scientific. It is
So,
not a big, very small things can be done.
hmm, right, ma'am. So I think this has to be, there should be more awareness to it, that we can
Awareness.
reach out.
The health administrator, nurse administrators, country as a whole, they have to really recognize this fact of nursing. And let me tell you, there is no dearth of people who are interested in this.
Hmm.
They're nipped in the bud. They're not given a chance.
Because I have seen people who are working in UK, also Indian nurses who are working in UK or elsewhere. When they go
Yes.
there, they have. I think they see that researchers being done. I've seen nurse researchers coming in India and talking about their research, and also I've seen doctors quoting their research, using their idea, telling that these nurse have done. So we have been using that. So I also challenge all the nurses out there who are watching us to be aware of the research, and let's do it, ma'am. So what is research exactly? What is research?
Uh, in fact, research is nothing a big thing. It is to solve the problem. You are working in a situation and you find something, you need to solve it. You have to solve it scientifically. So when you find a solution to the problem, or you have come across something which has disturbed you, oh, why it is happening like this, why it is not happening like this. So when you try to find answer to those questions, that is research. So simple. So you solve your problem in a scientific manner, and you also know come out with some solution. If this is a problem, come out with the solution. So solve the problem and improve the existing practice. See, the things are changing, our clients are changing, and medical field is very, very dynamic. You see, the diseases are changing. We never heard of coronavirus earlier. It was not there. Means it was in different forms, but not in these forms which we are seeing now. It was SARS, it was MERS, and now it is corona. So things like that in future too, you will have such kind of a challenge where health facility will change, health conditions will change, and health problems will change. So nurses has to investigate and find out, is the existing practice fine? If not, then what is the best solution? So it is actually finding the solution to the problem which is there and improving our practice which was there. That is what is research, nothing big thing. So
It could be
you
a
are,
very small thing.
yes,
It could be a very small thing also.
yes, it could be very, very small thing. Yeah, it may be a simple small thing, but it may change lot of health scenario. It may change the condition of your client. It may change even health delivery system altogether. So it may be very small thing, but it may make a big change. So it is nothing. The question which I always tell, I think I must have told you also in your class, the question which troubles you, why? That can become a research.
Right.
This troubling, why is it happening like this? It should trouble. Only thing, you should have an attitude to see and question why it is happening like this, not like that. That can be.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. What are the types of researchers? What are the types of researchers we can do?
See, if you talk about approaches, there are two approaches, quantitative and qualitative. In quantitative, we are more to the number, the data, and we are describing that data. In qualitative, we are not more into data, but we are into the depth of the data. See, when we are talking about quantitative, we are to the breadth of the data. When we are talking about qualitative, we are going into the depth of the data. So these are two approaches to research. But if you ask what are the research design, there are further designs, further methods in this book. Nowadays, it is a trend to have a mixed method. So you have some depth and breadth. So when you want both depth and breadth of a data, depth and breadth of a problem, you combine both. That is a mixed method. So it is a trend. What you left in data, you did not go to the depth. You can compensate that with the qualitative. So these are two approaches. And if you ask me about the designs, it's a big this thing, but in quantitative, we have descriptive, you can have longitudinal, you can have prospective studies, you can have retrospective studies, you can have experimental, this descriptive survey and all this comes in a non-experimental. And then we have experimental. Experimental studies are more becoming more popular nowadays, because there you are having experiment, you are having a control and experiment group and trying to compare with that. So you can have a experimental and non-experiment. There are further division of both. I don't think so we have much time to speak about it. If you allow, I can speak, but I think we cannot. Similarly, the qualitative, when you are going into the social aspect of it, when you want to know the sociology, then you can have ethnographical, grounded theory, phenomenological theories. In phenomenological, when you are asking the question about psychological aspects, you may ask questions about sociology, and then you can have focus group discussion to supplement your data. So these are some of the methods which are there
in research
to see, but it is a big this thing, and there are steps in doing these studies separately.
Is there the question is that is there any particular samples we need to do? Like if a nurse is thinking that I want to do a research, so is there any minimum sample needed?
Yes, there is a minimum sample for quantitative studies. If you're doing a quantitative study, then there are power formula and things like that, where you have to calculate your sample size. If your sample size is less, most of the time when you're doing for your master's or PhD, you may not have time to have that much of a sample. Mm-hmm. That is why we can't do generalization. And that is why these are not that much in practice, but they are there. So for any quantitative study which you want it to be generalized, you will have to have a proper sample size, which can be calculated with the power file. So if a nurse in the clinical side is doing a research, she must always contact a mentor, maybe a statistician, maybe her own expertise in nursing research, to find out how much sample size she needs. But in qualitative, you don't have to calculate. In qualitative research, we make themes and sub-themes. So you keep on asking till your themes are exhausted, meaning thereby that when you are asking question and when the same themes are coming up, then you can stop. That is a sample size. But then again, qualitative studies, you cannot do the generalization because so many things are there. But of course, you have to keep in mind, it's very important that you have a proper sample size.
Ma'am, like if a nurse wants to do a research, so she has something in her mind that I can do research on this, or I have found this is more effective, and I want to do a research. So what she has to do at the beginning, or how she can start it, or does she need a mentor, or she can start by her own?
See, preliminary things she can have her own, the ideas, and all ideas has to be put on paper. It is just not the ideas, but it has to be in written form. And then definitely, if you call it mentor, you can call it mentor or a team of people working together. One expert in that, another expert in that, and it is always better when we work in a team. So she should have her own team who will help her in this. Doing research, doing alone is not possible in their situation. And then she has to have a mentor, if you call it. Otherwise, she can choose a team which is good in one thing, and they can, in a team they can work. Firstly, secondly, they have to really, really get, there is a protocol. Can't do the research just like that. So there has to be a permission. As you all take permission from institutional review board, they also have to take permission. There is always ethical committee in every institution. Earlier we call an institutional review board, now it is called as ethical committee. So institutional ethical committee has to approve it. No research can be done without approval. So all those procedures has to be known to them, and that is why they may need a mentor. If in the team there is somebody who's expert in field, they can always help. But teamwork works.
Ma'am, so if now the person has done the research, he has concluded everything. Now, how to publish that?
See, if you talk about dissemination of research, publishing is come later. If you want your dissemination of research, very, very important. You can do by writing, oral presentation, poster presentations. So they can have a post, even if they're not getting a platform to have an oral presentation, they can do a poster presentation, make posters, display that. Even display in your areas. I have seen one of the private university, all MSc students, posters are displayed in their academic, whoever, whichever, they have multiple faculties, in multiple programs. So everyone's is being displayed. And in their academic section, it just displays in rotation. It is displayed. So you can have that platform, and then you can look for it. Nowadays, I think it is not a problem. You can, explore the net and find out on net what is going on. You can be a member of various societies. In India, I know two society, Nursing Research Society of India and Clinical Nursing Research Society of India, and then various other societies. So you have lot of platform now to go to these societies and present your findings. And then next comes publishing. On the net, you will find so many, journals. It is an era of journalizing. This is an era of information explosion on research. Really, really, on one topic you see, there will be lots. But then you have to decide where to publish, right?
Exactly.
So there are various ways, there are some agencies are saying what is the impact factor of that journal. Is it in India we say, is the journal name indexed in UGC care, or their name is in Scopus, PubMed, all those things are there. So internet is there. You can have, and Sinhel is there, whether they are in, indexed in Sinhel. So various, if you go through the literature review, you will find various sites are there where you can find that your research can be done or not. And most of the research, journals in India, they are having a peer review and they are of a good quality. There are some journals which are of a good quality. And then initially you have an Indian journal, and later on when you have 2-3 publications, you can always switch on international journal. So that has to be explored. You have to really give your time. You have to sit and explore the internet, find out and see which journals are there. Impact factor is mostly being looked in. The highest is the impact factor, best is the journal, or its name in Scopus, things like that.
So, ma'am, when we are sending a research to a journal, so
Um,
what are the elements needed in that? What are the components they ask for specifically?
See, every journal has their own guidelines. When you go through the net and see the journal, some journals at the end of that issue, they will write the guideline from in the beginning. So they will say how many words they need, or their references has to be done in what style, and what are the things, like they will have introduction, then they'll have review literature, then the material and methods, then the results, and summary, conclusion, and then references. They will also tell you how many tables would they like,
Hmm.
how to write a table. There is a guideline how to write tables. All that is being taught in your curriculum, but minor difference may be there journal to journal. And nowadays, I'm seeing many of international journal, like you have a big title of your research. They want a small title,
Hmm.
the running title also along with that.
Okay.
So, like one of our students, maybe I don't know your classmate, she has done on communication board.
Hmm.
So it was a big title. We wrote communication board, a tool for intensive care nurse practice.
Hmm.
So a catchy, a small title was needed. So nowadays they needed running small title as well in the internet. So you will have to find out which journal are you aiming at to publish, or read the guidelines properly, and always have people to read. Show to many people, no problem.
Hmm.
More you will show, more times you will read, you will be able to make it done.
Okay, ma'am. So,
And even experts are available from abroad, they'll tell you
hmm.
how to write.
So, ma'am,
Okay.
you were telling that research has to be done in a team. So when people are doing it in a team, so when we publish, do we have to write all of their names? How?
See many, yeah, even up to 6, 7 it can go.
Hmm.
We have learned in references, even 6, 7 authors can be there, no problem. Everybody's name can be there, but one would take a lead.
Yes.
So that will be the firm. Otherwise, 6, 7 people can be there. And everybody will contribute.
Hmm.
Some will contribute less, some will do more work. But the one who has taken a lead can always be there as a first author, and rest can be.
So, ma'am, if I write it in a resume that I have done this research, so that comes under my research. Like, for example, if I have to do a PhD, so they ask sometimes they ask in your in your achievement, have you achieved international? Have you published in international journal? Have you published in Indian? How many researchers you have published in Indian journals? So if there are seven, like you are telling me, you can work as a team. You can write all of their names. So will that research be counted in my this thing?
Yeah, see, when you write research, there will be first author.
Hmm.
First author gets the full credit.
Right.
Then there will be corresponding author.
Yes.
Like if I was your guide,
Hmm.
your PG,
Hmm.
you will be the first author.
Hmm.
I can be corresponding author.
Okay.
So in actually UGC, when we have career advancement scheme for teachers to be promoted, they have marks. If you are a first author, you will be given this much of marks. If you are a corresponding author, you will get this much of marks. If you are a third author, how much? So every institution have their own way of evaluating the authorship. They have their own way of evaluating and giving the marks. So, but definitely there will be some credit given to
Right. But then,
whatever. Yeah.
so when we are going to a college for teaching, or they'll ask you how many researchers have you done?
Mm.
Or,
Yeah.
or maybe an interview you're going if you have done your masters. How many
Yes.
research? That's the first question they ask you. How many research have you done? So they expect that from a master student. So will again, my question is that will that be counted if I am the third author?
Yes, it is. At least this again, it is as per institutional policy.
Hmm.
In Jamia Hamdard, we had been counted,
Okay.
but it is institutional. But you know where they count the third one, maybe suppose UGC says you should have 3 publications for assistant professorship. So maybe if you do not have 3 as a first author, they can say that you have 5 as third or a second author.
Okay.
It can be like that. So it is all institutional policy.
Right. So I also want to encourage all the people who are watching me, all the nurses who have just started or who always wanted to do a research, even if you are in bedside, it doesn't matter that you have to do it single-handed. You can work as a team and do the research and learn the things. It is always good that we begin the thing rather than thinking of it. Let's just start doing it. So, ma'am, what is evidence-based practice and why is it important?
In addition to this, they should not only think that I can only have a team from our this thing, our institute. Like they're working in a hospital, they should not think that only my hospital people I can do. No, they can always invite from other institutions. That will even be much more stronger because your data collection from different institutions will really give you a strong point.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you can do, don't think that only your institution, only your this thing. You can have a team from other institutions, from other countries, other states. There is no boundary to this.
Hmm.
There is no boundary, no limitations. You can go ahead with anything. And this is known as collaborative research. You can collaborate in your institution, collaborate with the educational institute, collaborate with industry, collaborate with other industry. Like you want to make some computer learning app or something like that, collaborate with computer science engineering.
Right.
So you can always have a collaborative research, and rather this is a time we should have this kind of a research, collaborative research.
Thank you, ma'am, for talking to us and giving us this wisdom about research. And I hope that those who are watching us are motivated. Thank you. You were one of the gems of nursing, and we all students look up to you, ma'am. And she has so many achievements to be in her account. She has been a brilliant student. She has got distinctions. She is an board member of many Indian and international journals. So honored that you came over our invite.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors. I know you will do differently. See, the extraordinary people do work, they do things differently, and I think you are one among them.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
keep it up.
Thank you, ma'am. So those who are watching us online, please subscribe to our YouTube channel Medical Crib and like our Facebook page Medical Crib for more informational videos. And also you can comment below which video you want next. Thank you for joining in.